Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. As you can see, the backdrop is the one indicating that I'm back in Bulgaria. As you can still probably hear, I sound nasally, meaning that I still have not recovered fully from me losing my voice. So we will see how long my voice lasts because I've been wanting to record for a couple of days, but I've been in so much physical pain that today is the first day that I've been able to speak for more than 10 minutes, and we'll see how long that lasts. Um, but yeah, also I need to make this quick because my friends are waiting for me. Because, like I told you last week's episode, when I come to Bulgaria, there is no such concept as sleep. Because when I finish work, when I finish doing everything I have to do after work, I go out with my friends. And the thing is, we used to be younger in terms of, oh, we used to be able to hang out until 5 or 6 a.m. and I would still go to work at 8:30. But now, yours truly, I just can't. I really can't. And I'm like, guys, 2:30 is my maximum. I need at least 6 hours of sleep, which has been, because I've not been getting this, that's why I've been struggling to recover fully, and I've been dragging my sickness for like almost a month now. But let's take it step by step. I want to warn you that I feel so incredibly sick, and I don't mean just like the cold, I mean in my stomach, because I've been snacking on the leftover lady fingers and tiramisu filling. Because if there is one thing I do when I come to Bulgaria, the very first thing I do when I come to Bulgaria is make a tiramisu. I don't know how the Italians did it. I don't know what they did with their cuisine to make it so appealing all throughout and so easy, because tiramisu is such an easy dessert to make. But I have to admit, don't cancel me, I do not make my tiramisu with eggs. I know. I make it with whipped cream, which I know that if you're Italian and you're hearing this, you probably want to punch me through the screen, which is very understandable as this is cultural appropriation and disrespect. But guys, I just really, really don't like the texture that these raw eggs, I believe it was just the yolks or whatever, that they add to the cream, and it's just not the best. And interestingly, I don't drink coffee because I do not like the taste of coffee, which is why I also used to hate tiramisu as a child, because I've never been a fan of coffee. If I drink coffee, you better believe that it's been milked down instead of watered down. It's been watered down with milk as much as possible. Basically, I have a tall glass of milk with a dash of coffee, and I've added so much sugar and syrups because I just don't like the taste of coffee. I don't know, it's just not my thing. And for whatever reason, I just became obsessed with tiramisu over the last few years, and I'm fine with the taste of coffee and that, but I just cannot, like, I'm fine with the coffee, but I just cannot get over the eggs. Um, so I make it with whipped cream. And I know now I sound like those people online that are like, well, I substituted the mayo with gasoline and it doesn't taste the same. So 0 stars to this recipe. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry. I think, yeah, I will have to keep it brief. Um, but I just became obsessed with tiramisu. And for me, I know it's more of a summery dessert, but I don't care what season it is. I don't care what the temperature is outside. I will be making and I will be eating tiramisu. And I only make it when I come to Bulgaria because I make tiramisu in bulk. Because tiramisu is the type of thing that you don't just make like a single serving out of. You make for a family of 17, and because I just cannot finish all of that in the Netherlands, also like having to store that in my fridge shelf that only fits 2 cucumbers and a tomato is just going to make eating anything else impossible, which I don't complain. I'm not complaining about, considering how much I like tiramisu, or my version of tiramisu. um but yeah, it's just I feel so ill right now because I haven't eaten too much today, and now just shoving this mascarpone slash whipped cream mixture down my throat and like eating it with the lady fingers is just something. It's quite the nutritious dinner if you so wish. Um, but yes, I am back in Bulgaria. I don't know if I should start with what's been happening now and then go back to how traveling happened, or just like start with how traveling happened and then go back to how things are now. But you know what? Let's start with how things are now and then look retrospectively. Well, I've been here for literally a week. Today marks a week, and I am so incredibly sunburned because the thing is, if you're not a watcher of Dirty Martini, if you are solely a listener, thank you for your listen. Uh, but if you're not a watcher, you may not be familiar that I am pale. I am one of the whitest people I know. I have such fair, sensitive to the sun skin to the point that it's embarrassing because come on, like 10 minutes in the sun shouldn't be doing that to you, which is why I decided to, sunbathe in the afternoons while reading smut, because what a better way to finish off the day. And one the Saturday, my first Saturday here, it was my first more free day. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wait until the afternoon to sunbathe. I don't know if you can hear my dogs. I don't know if my microphone is picking up on that. Also, I don't know what's happening with the camera and why it's so chopped. Um but such is life. I don't know what to do, man. I really, really don't know what to do. Because the camera is solely based on Wi-Fi connection. It's basically transmitting the footage from my phone to my laptop, and I don't know why every single time I record in Bulgaria, it's so bad. It's so incredibly chopped. Considering that Bulgaria is a country with very good, very fast internet connection. So you have to forgive me for the upcoming episodes and for them being so incredibly lagged, just like Nolan intended. Like, I'm tweaking, guys. I'm really tweaking. But what was I saying? So yeah, and on Saturday I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to wait until 5 or 6 to go sunbathe, because yes, sure, it's better in terms of I'm not like driven to the point of having to throw up because of the heat, but also it does not give me results as fast as I would like them because I'm greedy like that, even though I have lived in my skin for 24 years and I know that it is simply impossible for me to tan, because if I go tanning, I simply burn and I turn into Larry the Lobster from SpongeBob. Um but I became greedy. And this happens to me at least once a year. And I went out to sunbathe at 2 for an hour and a half. And I was turning, like I was time recording how long I'm sunbathing, like stomach down or like on my back to, make my tan even. And I was reading off campus, which I have something to say about this, but we'll keep that for after I finish this story. And I go home and I see my skin in the mirror, because the thing is, sunburns for me don't happen immediately. I see them only after I go home and have rested for a few hours, and only then do they appear on the surface and show that, hey, your skin actually hates you, and good luck taking a shower, and good luck sleeping, because you have to sleep standing up, because touching your skin to any point of service is going to hurt you. So I go home, and the thing is, I really, really do not like 10 lines of like the top of a swimming suit. I really just I don't find it elegant. I don't, well, not that I care about looking elegant, but it's just I don't like the way it looks. Which is why when I suntan, I try to remove the straps and shove them in the cups of the swimsuit, and so that I don't get those tan lines. And I was lazy, and I did not shove them in the cups this time. I just left them on top of the cups, and they fell off, actually, not fell out because they were never inside. And they became like swirly, little straps. And now I basically have a sunburn in the form of swirly things here on my chest. And I also have um like a tan difference, like a tan line on my watch, on my socks, and it's just beautiful. I like, basically it's giving the truck driver type of tan, and it's just, at this point, girl, the strap tan lines would be your least problem. Um, bro, the video is really, really bugging me. Let's see if I can switch to mobile data. Bruh, it's not working. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really, really sorry. Okay, so now it appears to be. Never mind, I jinxed it. Well, I hope you love and respect me enough to stick through the lagged um video footage, because like I don't know what to do, man. I really don't know. Well, I try to hotspot my data from my phone to connect to my laptop, but then simply my camera refuses to connect if it's not using Wi-Fi. So I don't know what's going on. But yeah, so I am incredibly sunburned, and the thing is, I became extremely, extremely scared because the thing is, I admit it, I did not use sunscreen. And I know that I end every single episode with stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. But I did not use sunscreen because I got greedy. And I was like, my skin cannot be that damaged in an hour. I just need to tan, and I need to look like I don't live in a Scandinavian country, and I need to look like I've seen sun in my life. Actually, there is sun in Scandinavia, and currently there's a lot of midnight sun. Um, but you know what I mean. I don't need to look pale. I don't want to look pale. And basically, this greediness was punished. And that's why greediness is a sin. And then I started, my hypochondria kicked in, and I started Googling skin cancer and how likely it is to be triggered after sun exposure. And obviously, Google did not help. And obviously, it told me that a single exposure, significant, like single exposure to sun in a single sunburn, even if it's happened years like prior, significantly increases your chances of um, getting skin cancer. Um, and someone please help me because I'm freaking out. Because the thing is, even when I use sunscreen, and I'm not saying that there's no point of using sunscreen, considering that I burn, but even when I use sunscreen, I still burn, and I've had some pretty significant sunburns throughout my life. Like, to the point, I'm not over exaggerating, I've had blisters. And I'll never, never forget when I went to this mountain to hike with my class from high school. And we went with this one teacher who I've had since middle school, and who's just simply an irresponsible person. And not irresponsible, irresponsible. He's extremely irresponsible. And I don't know why people keep trusting him with their children for him to take places. And he took us to Agiwa, for those of you who've heard of Agiwa, to hike through the seven Rilla. Why did I pronounce it like this? As if I don't speak Bulgarian. Through the seven Agiwa lakes, and we were climbing, like hiking. And the thing is, and obviously in the mountain it's a little bit colder as you're up like higher, and there's more wind, so you don't feel the sun as much, but you're also, the exposure to sun is harsher in a sense. So getting a sunburn in the mountains is basically a must for me, which is extremely sad considering how much I love going to the mountains. And we hiked to the highest point of the lakes. And then on the way back, we started going down. And the thing is, I had gotten, I don't know if it was food poisoning or there was something, I just did not feel well. I think I also had like a heat stroke or something, because I am that type of pale. I do get heat strokes. I used to get them on the regular, to the point of like, like throwing up and like getting fever because of the sun. Like I am that type of person. And we were a lot of people, and I think I've told this story before on the podcast. If I have, maybe this is going to refresh in your memory, and if I've not, you're welcome for the new story, because sometimes I feel like I run out of stories because only so many things can happen to me in the meantime of going from work to home. um and we were hiking down, and because of the whatever condition I had in that moment, I could not walk fast. I could not keep up the pace. So at a certain point, the teacher, that particular teacher, the extremely responsible one that's always like, I'll take care of your children, I'll look after them as if they were my own, just simply gave up on me because he was very annoyed that I could not keep up the pace, as I felt like I was dying. And he just left me uh in the mountains. He was like, we'll see you downstairs. Like, not downstairs. We'll see you down at the hut. And can I just say how extremely outrageous this is? And thank God for my friend who decided to stick with me. And it was just the two of us um trying to keep up with the others. But the thing is, at a certain point I had to sit down because I genuinely thought I was going to die. And there was like a, not a cross road, but like the path went in two ways, and we didn't know which way to go. So what actually ended up happening is we went the wrong way, and we figured it out like after a bit, and we had to go back to go to the like the correct way and the correct path. um and they were very, very pissed for us being late, but also I should be pissed at you, an adult who explicitly stated that it's going to take care of me, um for ditching me in the mountains by myself when I was 15 or 16. I believe I was 15, because, or 14, 15, whatever. um that's really not okay what he did. And I just remember, it must have been a heat stroke. It must have been a heat stroke because going down in the evening, my ears started blistering. And I'm not talking like a tiny little blister, I'm talking my entire ear was covered in blisters from how sunburned it was. My hands, because I was wearing a t-shirt, so from my sleeve down, the part of my skin that was exposed to the sun was the reddest I have ever seen it. And when my parents saw me, they were terrified, because like this is second degree burns that we're talking about. um but hey, like, the good thing is that they keep allowing this teacher to take children and bring them on trips someplace, and take care of them. And it's like, sure, maybe I should have been more responsible in that moment, in many ways, but also I was a child, and I did not know better. And while I take responsibility for part of the blame, I refuse to take all of the blame, because what the fuck are we on about? Why are you ditching me in the middle of a mountain? That's just outrageous. That is just outrageous. Um, but yeah, sunburns, like the sun and I love the sun doesn't love me. The sun, like, you know how they say sun kissed? I look like I made out with the sun and did not enjoy it. Like, it's that bad. And I cannot tell you how many times I have had to lather my face with yogurt, because this is the only thing that's cooling down my face, because I genuinely feel like my skin is melting. And because of severe burns like these, articles like the ones I read on Google about sunburns really increasing your chances of permanent skin damage or skin cancer is really not what I want to see. So, fun stuff. Fun stuff. Now it's a little bit better, the sunburn, and I'm hoping it's going to recover fully. I mean, it will, but now I'll have to carry those ugly, incredibly ugly tan lines. But that's, I guess, just my battle score for being dumb and not putting on sunscreen and just underestimating the sun for and being like, oh, 1 hour is not going to do that much damage. Wear your sunscreen, okay? Okay, please wear your sunscreen. I know that sunscreen is expensive. I would rather you invest in sunscreen and uh, make sure to reapply than having to deal with the repercussions, the health repercussions of not using sunscreen. And I know that we all love, well, I don't even like tanning. That's the thing. I don't like sitting there and just frying myself in the sun, but I do like looking tan. So, such is life. That's how you know. So, I've come to Bulgaria if I have an incredible sunburn within the 3 days of my arrival. Then I make tiramisu, and then I'm covered in mosquito bites, because Jesus Christ, it's like they're drawing a map. Like, I don't know what's happening. But you know what's another sign of me having come back to Bulgaria for the summer? Me, I'm sitting in such a ladylike way. You know what? Man spread. Why shouldn't I? Anyways, another sign of me having touched Balkan land for more than a few weeks is me going to the local library. May local libraries exist forever, because that is the best institution in my town, period. And you pay €4 per year. Now it used to be for leva, but what that was like 10 years ago, doesn't matter. You pay €4 per year and you have unlimited access to as many books as you like, as many CDs as you like, and yada yada yada. Um, and even if you read a single book, you've already made a return on investment. So the ROI is quite high, if you ask me, especially if you're like me, because ladies and gents, girls, gays, and theys, I have started reading the Off Campus series. And I am so incredibly back on my grind, and I feel so incredibly alive, because in 3.5 days I read 800 pages. And that's how you know it's summer. And that's how you know I am starting to look like myself again. And that's how you know I'm starting to recover from seasonal depression. Because there's nothing I love more than reading smut being the reason my sleep schedule is messed up. I love staying up to 4. I love staying up to early morning. I love staying up to the point that my parents are leaving for work and I'm like, yeah, I still haven't gotten to bed, because like hello, there's a single bed, and like those people that hated each other actually kissed. Um that's just, it gets me going, man. It gets me going. And I've read the first two books. Those are the 800 pages I read. Um, Unfortunately, the third book from the series has been landed. I don't know. Landed is like landing a plane. Land has been borrowed from the library. So I don't have access to it right now. I found a PDF online in English. And the thing is, I love reading smut. I hate reading smut in Bulgarian because the words they use to describe the spicy scenes are words I no, just no. It is so incredibly cringe to read spicy literature in your native language, which is why I prefer reading it in English. And I know you may be thinking, oh my God, then that's ideal because now you get the chance to read it in English, this third part, which is Dean's part. And I have not watched the series, okay? I have not watched the series, but I, from the book up until now, Dean is my favorite character. I also like Grace. I mean, like I've read two books, like the book about what's her name, Wesley. What's her first name? Jesus Christ. See, that's not the nice thing about reading books so fast that like things just start merging and you're like, I don't know who's done what. But Welsie, Jesus Christ, what's her name? Grace is the second girl's name. I know that there's people who are watching this that are screaming the name of the character at the screen, but I just don't. Hannah. Wait, I remembered Hannah, and I want to say Wyatt, but it's not Wyatt. Garrett. So I read this is book one, and book two is Logan and Grace. And book three is about Dean and Allie, and I'm excited to read that one. Because Dean, as of yet, my favorite character. Although I also really like Grace. I mean, like I do like. Okay, here's the thing. I really the series was started being published in 2015. So of course there's things that are a tad bit questionable, a tad bit that doesn't fly anymore. I don't know how it is with the series. I would assume the series has been upgraded to match those things that are a bit questionable to not be questionable anymore. Um, but basically, uh, what I like is series of books that are written in such a way that it's so easy to submerge yourself in the story and you actually care about the characters and you care about the side characters and you're excited to read the story in which they're the main characters. And basically a book series that is like a TV series in your brain as you read it. I know that there's people who do not visualize stuff as they read them. I'm not one of those. I have images in my brain as I read, which thank God, because but also sometimes when they, for example, are describing a character and they're like, yeah, and his uh pale skin and blonde hair. I'm like, girl, no. Like he's tall, dark, and handsome. And for me, tall, dark, and handsome does not mean brunette, okay? So yeah, I sometimes ignore the way the characters are described and just picture them the way I want them to look. Okay? Because I just attach because like if you're describing someone who's attractive, I'm just going to paint my version of what I think an attractive person looks like. Um and another series that gets me going, but my library doesn't have the latest addition to the series, is King of Sin. And here's the thing, that's quite a spicy series, I won't lie. Uh and I know you may be thinking, "Oh, aren't you like embarrassed to talk about like reading spicy books?" I don't care. I read. Nowadays there's such a decline of cognitive abilities, that any type of reading is welcomed. And honestly, I extremely highly recommend the King of Sin series because it's written so good. I read it in Bulgarian, so I'm sure that there's nuances that have not been able to be translated in Bulgarian. But Jesus Christ, this series keeps me going, and it's literally, I cannot wait. I don't know if it's been picked up by like a movie label yet, but it better be, because this, I cannot wait for this to be put onto my screen as a series or as a movie. I would rather a series so that we can dive deeper into more detail. But that book, oh my gosh, those books are amazing. And I'm so incredibly excited to read the latest edition, but they just don't have it in my library. So while I wait for the person who has borrowed the third book from the off campus series, what I'll be keeping myself occupied with is I don't know their names in English, but because that's the thing though, my library, I love it. It's sufficiently big, but its collection of English books is not as wide. Um, but I don't mind this. Like sometimes even though I find reading smut in Bulgarian cringe, I like reading books in Bulgarian, even though I know that part of the context, part of the nuance is missing in the translation, because I engage so much with English. I think in English, I read in English, I create in English, I've started writing in English. I sometimes feel the need to reconnect with Bulgarian literature, even if it's not by a Bulgarian author, and just read in Bulgarian, because yeah, I don't know, I feel like it's so important to read in your native language, even though you can, let's say if you're reading English literature, you can read in English. While there's of course so many benefits to reading literature in its original language as the author intended, I still preferred sometimes to read in Bulgarian. Um, and the thing is, I don't know how long that person is going to take to read the third book. Because the thing is, I know I'm a fast reader. I know that reading 800 pages for 3.5 days is a bit more than average. And the thing is, I've always been a fast reader, but ever since, I don't know what, but like for the past 2, 3 years, I've been an extremely fast reader. And I can, yeah, like, oh my God. I remember when I was reading for the very first time the Hunger Games series, the books are this thick, this thick. I would read a book a day. And it's just, or like the royal family, or family royal, I don't know what the name is in English because I've read it in Bulgarian. I'll read a book and a half in per day, because I'm just that fast of a reader, and it's so not nice of me to expect others to be that fast of readers, because now I expect to be able to read my third book from the off campus series. But yes, I could be reading it on my laptop as a PDF file, but there's just something about physically turning a page that gets me going. And I just don't like reading books on a screen. I really don't like it. It doesn't feel the same. There's part of the experience that's missing. Um, but to keep myself occupied while that person returns the off-campus third book, I've gotten the Hannah Grace, so two books, not Icebreaker, but the other two that she has. I don't know if she only has 3 books, but those are the only 3 I know. I got People We Meet on Vacation, and I got the first 2 books from the Fourth Wing series. And looking at the Fourth Wing series books and seeing that they're 800 pages long, I cannot help but wonder, is it ever that serious? How much do you have to say to keep a story going for 800 pages? and then write another one that's 800 pages. And then from what I've heard, there's 3 books up until now. Is it ever that serious? But considering how popular it got, I would like to believe that it is going to be that serious. So I will keep you updated on my reading journey, but I just feel so incredibly alive because now, with me not having, you know, to study, I have more time. I have more time to do things that I've had to neglect for the sake of, graduating. Um, and the problem is, I'm a person of many interests. And wow, that's an amazing thing because that means I get to live a very rich everyday life. That also leaves me quite dissatisfied because now I want to read books. I want to play the piano. I want to play the guitar. I want to write. I want to crochet. I want to make jewelry. I want to sew. And I want to learn German or refreshen my German skills, improve my Dutch, and learn Spanish. And why I think it's so incredibly amazing to be a person of so many interests. I only have only that little time, that much time, and it's like, how do I pick and choose? And it's like, I I love being interested in as many things as possible. I love trying out new things. The problem is that I love a lot of things and I want to be able to practice them, all of them at the same time, all of them in the same day. And in the same day, I cannot simply go to work out, um, do groceries, cook, eat, read, play the piano, play the guitar, crochet, then also learn how to knit. Then I don't know, like just I wish the days were longer, especially because here in Bulgaria it gets darker earlier than in the Netherlands as we are more southern geographically. So here it gets dark. Currently it's 9:25. It is pitch black outside. And in the Netherlands where I was a week ago, it would get dark at 10:20, for example. So the days feel shorter as is because of the sunset. Um, but also the days feel shorter because I want to live so many lives, and it feels so incredibly annoying that our lives are so short that I don't have the opportunity to explore every single interest I have because I thankfully am a woman of many interests. But this is also the beginning of my existence because while I'm reading a book, I'm also thinking about how much I want to, like sew or whatever. Um, so I'm really, really hoping I get to live a life where I get the opportunity to practice my hobbies, discover new hobbies, and fall in love with new things and learn as many languages as possible. Because honestly, I feel so incredibly, how do I put it, inferior because everyone around me speaks so many languages. Like in my in university people speak at least 4 languages, three or a granted, like three are a given, and then 4 or 5 or whatever. And then I'm like, well, I speak fluently only Bulgarian and English, and um I can get by with German, but barely. And then, like, Dutch, I can understand, but cannot respond. And I just feel so, so inferior. So I want to learn as many languages as possible. And my goal is to learn Spanish. And I really want to, like, I think Spanish is such a beautiful language. To me, like, oh my God, imagine listening to Bad Bunny and being able to sing along. I really, really wish I spoke Spanish. But I guess it's never too late to pick it up. It's just like at this age, I feel like it's going to be a bit harder to become fluent at it as seamlessly as I did with English, but I think that English is so omnipresent, and all the content I consume is in English, and the books I read are in English. And yes, I study in English, but like even before I moved to the Netherlands, English is just so omnipresent in everything and everywhere that it's a bit difficult to avoid it. And even if you want, like when you want to learn it, it's easier to submerge in that language, even if you're not in a context where that language is spoken. Whereas I feel like it's a bit harder with other, I don't want to say niche languages because I don't think Spanish is a niche language, but like just with other languages. um but yeah, I don't know, like if somehow I could just wake up, like download Spanish and insert it in my brain and be able to speak it fluently, I would so do that, even if that means accepting the cookies. Like hello, because yes, I am the type of person who always goes and rejects the cookies because I am that petty. Whatever, whatever. I'll quickly tell you about my traveling experience and then I'll go because I need to be bitten by mosquitoes more while I hang out with my friends and eat a princesa and then burn severely the top of my mouth, and the top of my mouth is covered in blisters, and that's just what bowel consumer is, okay? Okay. So basically, this time around I yet again flew from Germany to be able to come to Bulgaria because flights from the Netherlands are becoming incredibly and extremely financially unattainable. And sometimes it is way more justified to and efficient sometimes, but definitely financially justified to travel to Germany and fly from Germany to Bulgaria. Because if my flight from Germany is 100 euros with the priority boarding, which includes the carry on suitcase, that same day, flying from the Netherlands to Bulgaria an hour earlier would cost me 350 euros without a priority boarding, aka the carry on luggage. And that's the sole reason I buy priority tickets, because I just don't feel like checking in my luggage, and I'm like, I'd rather have it in the overhead compartment. Um, so that's why I ended up flying from Hamburg this time around yet again. And the thing is, the flight was at a reasonable hour. It was at 3 in the afternoon, so I was like, oh, that just gives me enough time because I can sleep throughout the night. I don't have to do my usual thing of leaving with the last train, going to Amsterdam, Schiphol, crashing there for a few hours to catch the first train to go to Eindhoven. I didn't have to do that. Um, I still could not sleep because I am just that nervous when it comes to traveling. Especially, here's the thing. So my flight is at 3. It's going to take me 4.5 hours ish to get to Hamburg by train. And if there's one thing I do not trust, it is the US government. If there is a second thing I do not trust, it is the Israeli government. If there's a third thing I do not trust, it is the Russian government. If there is a fourth thing I do not trust, it is Deutsche Bahn, which is the German railroad system. Because you can count on them to be late, which is incredibly ironic because as someone who studied German, and I did not solely study German, I had to study the German culture, or like the culture of German speaking countries, but with a predominant focus on Germany. um, what was put a lot of emphasis on was the punctuality of Germans and how everything has to stick to schedule. And then you travel once with Deutsche Bahn and you see that all of this is just made up tales because it's like nothing is ever on time. Which is why I decided to give myself a 4 hour buffer, because like to get to Hamburg main train station, it would take me 4.5 hours, and then from there I need half an hour to get to the Hamburg airport. But the thing is, the Hamburg airport is so incredibly big. And if, let's say, you arrive on in terminal 2 and you need to go to terminal 1 gate A, you need to walk, I'm not kidding you, 15 minutes. And it's like, well, Diva, what the fuck are we on about? So I was like, I'll just give myself a 4 hour buffer, because every single time I've traveled with Deutsche Bahn, I've had a delay. And the thing is, because I have to change trains and stuff, if I miss one train gets delayed or yada yada, I cannot make my other connection. So I just wanted to have enough buffer, enough time buffer to be able to, if, let's say, my train gets delayed or I miss my connection, to be able to catch the next one. Which is why I left at 6 a.m., which is why I woke up at 4 a.m. to be able to have breakfast, try not to puke from anxiety, and then leave for the train station. And you know what's something I hadn't thought about before, in terms of Dutch train stations, or at least the local one of the city I live in? The trains start running at 5:20, around 5:20. The toilet does not open until 7. And I think this is because you have to pay to use the toilet, and it just does not open. What I think it's this is absolutely incredibly outrageous, because you just cannot for 2 hours deny people the right to their bodily functions. So what I had to do, because I'm smart and think on my feet fast, is I checked in for a Dutch train that hadn't departed yet. I went into the train to use the handicapped toilet that the train had, and then I got disembarked from the train. I checked out from the platform and went to catch my bus to Germany, from where I would have to change multiple trains to be able to get to Hamburg. Um, I think that's outrageous that I had to do this in order to use the toilet, considering that there's trains running for 2 hours until the toilet starts. But whatever, whatever. Maybe that's just the leftist, socialist, communist mentality of people should be entitled to exercise their bodily needs, and people shouldn't have to pay €1.50 to use the toilet. Anyways, so I did get a bit of a delay, but only on my last train, so there was no other connections to be made, so I didn't miss anything. And the thing is, I traveled in the family compartment because everything else was full, so I got in there and there were obviously so many families in the family compartment, and children playing, and children just like, because like children stinking, like, just I was like, what the fuck, what are we going, what are we talking about? But I arrive in Hamburg. The weather is shit, I am starving, and I had made myself cream cheese pasta, which I know sounds disgusting, but the thing is, I wasn't going to do any groceries. So in my fridge, I only had cream cheese, and in my cupboard, I only had pasta. So I was like, let's just make cream cheese pasta, which I ended up hating. And I ate one of the portions, and the other one I just gave to a homeless guy. And he was like, oh my God, thank you so much. So I really hope he ate that and he felt nutritioned by it. So I had to go and buy myself something to eat. Um, and what I find interesting is that in the Edeka that is in the city center, there's no bread. Sure, it's adjacent to a bakery. Maybe that's why, so that they can sell from the bakery and charge more. But there's no like Kaiser. Oh, fuck! I was about to say it in Dutch. See, there's a lot of words that in my brain just stick in some of the languages that I know ish. And it's like, yeah, you figure it out. They just don't have the like those bread buns, and I was like so weirded out. But I ended up just eating something else, and then I just couldn't help it, guys. I found a bookstore that had heavy discounts. So I ended up, even though I had zero space in my luggage, literally zero, I was freaking out the entire time because I was like, oh my god, now they're going to tell me that my suitcase is too full. And the thing is, I never opened the widening compartment of my carry-on suitcase anymore because I've had problems made. Well, problems made is just like such a literal translation from Bulgarian. I've just had people um from like the ones at the gate call, like, just argue with me about this, which is why I stopped opening that widening compartment. And even though I hadn't opened it, I was still very, very terrified that they're going to tell me that my suitcase is too large and that they're going to charge me 100 euros for me to gate check it. So, despite this, I decided to buy a book, and I bought a book in German. I bought the prequel to We Were Liars, which We Were Liars when I was 16 was the shit. And no, it was 2014, so I was 12. Um and I was sobbing. Was it 2014? I don't know. Whenever it came out, and I read it, I cried my eyes out because of the dogs. That's all I'm going to say. I didn't care about anyone else. I was like, yeah, yeah, it sucks. Like, I'm really, really sorry. The dogs. The dogs. Well, the dogs. Um, and now I bought the prequel in German, and we'll see if I'll be able to. Because I read the first 2 pages in the bookstore, and I was like, wait, why am I understanding everything as if I didn't study the language intensively for 5 years, and as if I don't have a certification that I can speak the language? But I was like, why am I understanding this? And I was like, oh, yeah. So now we'll see if I'll be able to read that book in German. But before I read that book in German, I want to finish all the smutty little series that I want to read in Bulgarian, even though it's very, very cringe. And then I had to the train station to catch an S-Bahn to go to the airport. And I get on the S-Bahn and I receive a message that my flight has been delayed by an hour and a half. And I'm like, well, that's chill. That's chill. So that means now I'm going to have to hang out at the airport for 5 hours, basically. Because if there's one thing you should know about me is that I don't go to airports early. I really, really don't. If I have checked in luggage, sure, I'll go early. But because I never travel with checked in luggage, I go an hour, hour and a half max before my flight because I'm like, I just need to go through security. That's it. And I live in Schengen, Bulgaria. So, like, there's no extra checks and whatever. I love the European Union and I love Schengen so much. I love the European Union so much. You have no idea. I'm so, so thankful that Bulgaria entered the EU in my lifetime. Because, like, when I was born, Bulgaria was not part of the EU. So I'm so incredibly happy that we're part of the EU. I heart the EU. Um, and of course, there's a lot of criticism to be posed towards the EU. I don't think it's a perfect system, but I think it's it's given me a lot of privileges, which is why I'm able to now study in the Netherlands and yada yada. We're not going to go into this right now. Um, so I go to the airport, and mind you, throughout all of this, I want you to imagine. So you know how I was sick last week? The day of my travel, I crashed. I had a terrible fever. I'm convinced I had a fever. Uh, and my body felt so incredibly heavy. I just simply could not walk. I felt heavy. I felt congested in my sinuses, and I was like, I think I'm going to die. People were wearing shorts and tank tops. I had thick socks. I had thick jeans. I had a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a jacket, and I was shivering. And I was like, is that really necessary? Is that really, really necessary? Because also, like, the delay ended up being longer than this hour and a half. But like they would just not update us. And I got on the plane and I had a middle seat because I'm cheap like that and I'm not going to book a seat unless it's absolutely necessary. And then my claustrophobia hit in, and then the lady next to me was just chatting to the grandpa next to her, and she was felt very, very hot because it was very just like the air was heavy in the airplane. So she turned on the AC over her head, but she also turned on the one over my head, and I was like, girl, I can barely hold myself together because I'm so cold. Why are you doing this? And then just people were so loud, and there was this baby that was crying and kicking my seat, and the mom was trying so hard to calm it down while the dad was playing games, and I was like, yeah, I'm going home. That's an indication of a Bulgarian couple. Um, but yeah, and just like there's just something about, okay, not to sound elitist. You know what? I'm actually not going to finish this thought because I know that there's going to be people who are going to tell me that I sound elitist, which is why I'm not going to finish that thought. Um, but then I land in Sofia, and mind you, I was so freaked out about the carry-on and it being larger, and I rearranged my luggage 3 times at the airport because also I vacuum seal my clothes, and then at security they did something that like let air in the vacuum sealed bag, so I could no longer like easily close my bag, which is why I was really panicking. And then because of the delay, they were like, let's just like speed this up, and did not even look at my ID, did not even look at my luggage. They were just like, just scan and go. And I was like, Schengen. um yeah, and I arrive in Sofia, and I am dying. My throat, it's like someone's taken my vocal cords and used them as a violin. Literally, I'm in so much pain. So I'm like, I really need tea. So I go to grab a tea from a coffee machine, and mind you, those that are just like a coffee costs 50 cents, and like those nasty ass coffees, and I'm like, oh, it's just going to cost me 50 cents. That's chill. A tea at the Sofia airport from like a coffee machine, not even like from a barista, costs 2.2 euros, 2 euros and 20 cents. I think this is absolutely outrageous because me with my Dutch salary find this expensive. I cannot imagine about people who are earning Bulgarian salaries, because what the fuck are you on about? Because at the Eindhoven airport, the Albert Heijn offers tea for €1. Why are you offering it half the size for double and even more the price in Sofia? What are we on about? Yeah, you know what, like just like Bulgaria has been getting very expensive in terms of groceries and stuff. And like even me with my Dutch salary, I went yesterday to do some groceries, and I was like, what are we talking about? Um but yeah. Yeah. And then I had to travel from Sofia to my hometown, and basically what I'm trying to say is that the whole trip took 18 hours. 18 hours. And that's what really pisses me off about people who say, oh, like, come on, like the Netherlands is just 3 hours away. Well, honey, it's 3 hours away if you live in Sofia and you land in Amsterdam, and Amsterdam's your last point. But I don't live in Sofia, and I don't live in Amsterdam. So I need to travel in both countries for multiple hours to be able to get to the airport. And it's just like, come on. 18 hours is excessive. It is excessive. I will never forget when my friend who lives in um America, and she flies to Boston, her and I were left at the same time, and she arrived in Boston before I arrived in my hometown in Bulgaria. And it's like, what are we on about? But yeah, that's been basically the little update. My throat is begging me to stop. Also, my friends are excited to see me, and I'm excited to see them, which is what I think I'll go do now, despite my eyes begging me to shut them down and go take a nap and actually sleep, not take a nap. But with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen. Wear sunscreen, okay? Me, when I don't listen to my advice. Wear sunscreen and don't support genocide. Bye.